I've been around the block a few times, literally and figuratively. My name's Frank, and I'm a bulldog with a lot of opinions. I live in Brooklyn with my human, Henry, a nice enough guy for someone who's always running off to some place called work. I still don't understand what that is, but whatever it is, it must be very special to him. He leaves me alone with only a few toys and the hum of the refrigerator to keep me company. But that's fine. I've got the run of the place, and this apartment, it's my domain. Now let me tell you about my home, or as I like to call it, Frank's Fortress. Henry would probably argue, but let's be real. I'm the one who spends all day here guarding it against the mailman, squirrels on the fire escape, and the occasional neighborhood cat that struts across our window ledge like he owns the place. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. My favorite spot? The couch. Specifically, the left cushion, which has been broken in to fit my unique shape. A perfect blend of stubborn and adorable. Sure, Henry tries to make me sit on the floor, but I think we both know who's winning that battle. Besides, it's prime location for watching the great beyond, aka the street outside. If you've never watched a pigeon steal a pizza crust off the sidewalk, let me tell you, you haven't lived. Henry and I have what I like to call a breakfast understanding. Every morning he stumbles out of bed and heads straight for the coffee machine. He's half awake, muttering to himself, and yet I'm at full attention, tail wagging and drool collecting like Niagara Falls. Do I get my breakfast right away? Oh no. I'm forced to wait, practically starving, while he fiddles with his precious mug. This, my friends, is true injustice. But once that food hits my bowl, it's like a symphony of flavors. Henry has this great habit of dropping little accidents while he cooks. Buttered toast, a piece of bacon here and there. He says it's unintentional, but I know better. My only complaint? He doesn't make breakfast nearly as often as he should. Saturdays are my favorite because Henry finally makes a feast. Eggs, bacon, toast, and sometimes pancakes if he's feeling fancy. I sit right there by his feet, looking as adorable as possible. Works like a charm, mostly. There's nothing like a good game of tug-of-war with my squeaky duck toy. Oh, that toy. It's my mortal enemy and best friend all rolled into one. Henry laughs every time he sees me charging at it with all my bulldog might, and sometimes he even joins in. We've had battles that feel like they'll go down in history. But the best part? When I finally get a good grip, shake my head, and rip that duck from his hand. Sweet victory. I can tell he's pretending to let me win, but I take it as a win nonetheless. Then there are the moments when Henry is busy. He'll sit down with his laptop and I'll start my usual routine of subtle hints for attention, nudging his knee, sitting and staring right into his soul, and finally the old flop on the floor with a dramatic sigh. Sometimes it takes a few rounds, but I always win. After all, who can resist this face? Ah, nap time, a sacred tradition. Henry doesn't quite understand the importance of naps. He's always saying I sleep too much, as if there's such a thing. He should see the science behind it. Okay, maybe there's no science, but the point is, a bulldog's gotta rest. The couch, my bed in the corner, Henry's bed, when he's not around to protest. These are my sanctuaries. My favorite? The patch of sunlight that hits the carpet just right around noon. Nothing compares to stretching out in that warm glow. I've noticed that Henry often takes pictures of me during these moments. Must be hard to capture all this majestic energy in a single frame, but he tries his best. Occasionally, he'll take his day off and join me on the couch for what he calls movie night. It's mostly him eating popcorn and me sitting there praying to the popcorn gods that a piece or two might fall my way. Let's talk about my job as the official guardian of this household. Henry doesn't appreciate it nearly enough, but it's a tough gig, keeping the place safe from all manner of threats. I mean, sure, there's the mailman, he's persistent. Then there's that pesky cat who seems to take pleasure in taunting me from the fire escape. But the worst? The vacuum. That noisy beast only comes out when Henry's in a cleaning mood, and every time it does, I'm ready to defend my turf. I bark, lunge, and yes, sometimes run the other way, but it's all part of the strategy. Henry doesn't quite get it. He laughs and says, "Frank, it's just a vacuum." But does he know how dangerous it is? Does he hear the evil whirring noise it makes? I think not. So I persist. Better safe than sorry, I say. Baths. The bane of my existence. Henry has this strange belief that I need to be clean. Personally, I think I smell just fine, like a bulldog should. But every once in a while he gets this look in his eyes and says, "Come on, Frank, it's bath time." The dreaded words. Before I know it, I'm being carried to the bathroom where the water is running and there's nowhere to hide. Last time I put up a good fight. Wriggled and squirmed, but Henry is as stubborn as I am. There I was, standing there in the tub, soggy and looking like a drowned rat while he scrubbed me. He says I look cute with the suds, but I know he's just saying that to make himself feel better. After it's all over, though, I'll admit, only to you, I do feel pretty good. Clean and shiny. But don't tell Henry. It would only encourage him. At the end of each day, there's a little ritual that Henry and I share. He sits on the edge of his bed, gives me a good pat on the head, and mutters something about me being the best dog in the world. Then he climbs under the covers, and I hop onto my bed, strategically placed at the foot of his. Some nights, if I'm feeling extra cheeky, I'll wait until he's almost asleep before I tiptoe over and plop down right next to him. He'll sigh, but he never pushes me off. I think he secretly loves it. In those quiet moments, I feel like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, right here with Henry, my human. Sure, he can be a little clueless about things like breakfast times and the importance of naps, but he's mine. And that, my friends, is why home will always be my favorite place in the world. Now, some of you might think a city dog like me doesn't get much outdoor action, but you'd be wrong. We have a little backyard behind the building, a scrappy plot of grass and dirt, but to me, it's my own personal jungle. Whenever Henry lets me out there, I go wild. I sniff every inch of ground, hoping for any new smells. Sometimes, if I'm lucky, I'll find a stick, which becomes my grand prize. One time I spotted a squirrel. Oh, the thrill. He was sitting there, twitching his tail, looking smug. I launched myself toward him, barking like a madman. But wouldn't you know it? That little furball dashed up the tree before I could even get close. Henry came out laughing and calling me a ferocious hunter. I wasn't amused. But even though I didn't catch that squirrel, I still strutted back into the apartment like a champion. After all, it's the thought that counts. Henry has this thing about slippers. He loves them. I mean, who needs slippers when you've got perfectly good paws? But hey, I'm not here to judge. One day, Henry was getting ready for work, and I noticed he was looking around, muttering under his breath. I knew that look. He was searching for his slipper, and I was the prime suspect. Here's the thing. I hadn't actually taken it, but I figured, why waste a perfectly good opportunity to watch him squirm? So I sat there, looking innocent as could be, while he turned the apartment upside down. Just as he was about to give up, I trotted over to my bed, dug around a bit, and, what do you know, there was the slipper. Had I put it there on purpose? I'll let you decide. Let's just say I got an extra treat that day for being such a good boy. I've told you about the couch, the battles with the vacuum, the backyard, and even the bath ordeal. But let me tell you something important, something only a dog could understand. Home isn't just a place where I get treats or take naps. It's where I belong. It's where Henry is. Every day, I wait for him by the door, listening for the sound of his footsteps coming up the stairs. That moment, when he walks through the door, it's like the first time. Every time. There are other places I like, sure. The park, the streets of Brooklyn, that one bakery that smells like heaven, but nothing compares to home. It's where I'm loved, where I feel safe, and where I know, without a doubt, that I'm part of something special. Henry might think he's the one taking care of me, but between you and me, I think I take care of him too. So here's to home, where every day is an adventure and every corner holds a memory. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, and as long as Henry's around, I know I'll always have a place right here, in my little fortress in Brooklyn.